Let's turn to President Trump's blanket tariffs on foreign goods now. The White House says they will take effect at 12:01 a.m. tomorrow. Meantime, India and Brazil are both facing a 50% tax on their goods, in part because of policy differences. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now. And Olivia, great to see you. Let's start with India. President Trump is saying that he doesn't want them buying Russian oil, but they continue to do so. So where does that leave the relationship between the U.S. and India?
Well, Nancy, it's a great question because the relationship, which was once friendly, is now very fraught. These are the two largest democracies in the world, the U.S. and India, who have had a pretty friendly relationship. Don't forget that Prime Minister Modi was one of the first foreign leaders to come visit President Trump in the start of the second administration. And he even, while he was here, talked about make India great again. So really adopting President Trump's, outlook on his country and his world to bring it back to India. Now, just months later, India is now facing some of the highest tariffs of any country in the world, rivaled to Brazil, which has a very politically fraught relationship with the United States right now. And as you mentioned, this is happening because they continue to buy Russian oil. The president is trying to squeeze Russia, trying to get them to the table with Ukraine. And by doing that, he is imposing pain, economic pain, on allies like India. The problem is the U.S. is an ally of India. There's a lot of economic and business development there that happens, including the development of iPhones. A lot of U.S. businesses have moved their production there. So this is going to have certainly a lot of ramifications, but there's still time. That secondary tariff, that 25% tariff, won't go into effect until August 27th. The White House is hoping that India pulls back their purchasing of Russian oil. But Nancy, they have said we have a population of 1.4 billion people. We need energy. This is cheap energy. And that is part of the reason why they have continued to buy this energy throughout the war in Ukraine. So they're walking a very delicate tightrope, but this White House is telling them no more.
Yeah, I can imagine that is a tough line to walk. Also, Olivia, turning now to Brazil, President Trump has attributed the tariffs there to his opposition with the ongoing prosecution of Brazil's former president. So how is the current Brazilian government reacting to these tariffs?
Well, Brazil is now asking the World Trade Organization to get involved. They're requesting consultations with the WTO, arguing that the United States has what they say flagrantly violated key commitments that the U.S. has agreed to with the WTO, and that includes the most favored nation principle and tariff ceilings. The most favored nation principle is really the cornerstone of a lot of trade organization work across the world, and really it allows countries to respect trade agreements with the idea that you go into these trade agreements and they're not going to be altered. So Brazil is asking the WTO to get involved, making this situation regarding the tariffs between the U.S. and Brazil certainly a situation that's going to drag out for much longer. It's not an organization that moves quickly when it comes to these sorts of consultations. So that's kind of the issue here, Nancy, is this is going to continue being an issue between the U.S. and Brazil.
Now, plenty more to come on all this. Olivia Rinaldi, thank you very much. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins us now here on set. And Kelly, what should consumers make of these new tariff rates? I keep thinking, what about my coffee?
I know, right? Or, our chocolate from Switzerland, or all of these.
What about the beef?
Yes. Well, look, I think for the longest time, a lot of businesses and consumers were hoping that deals would mean no tariffs. And I think what we can make of this is even with the countries where there have been deals in place, you're going to have higher prices. And businesses are going to have to decide how much of that they're going to pass on. Now, specifically, the two that Olivia was talking about, India and Brazil, we do a lot of trade with them, but they are not one of our top 3 trading partners. It's not insignificant, but I also don't want people to go out and panic. But hey, if there are holiday items that you're looking at, as long as a business imported that product ahead of midnight tonight and it gets in before October 5th, it's not going to be subject to these new tariffs.
Well, that being said, I bring up coffee because so much of it is imported from Brazil. What kind of products that do we import from India and Brazil that could really be hit the hardest here?
So if we're thinking about India, pharmaceuticals, machinery, spices, textiles, Brazil, coffee is a big one. We also do buy oil from Brazil. So those are some of the things that you might see go up. But again, it's going to depend how much businesses pass through.
And we also are just getting news right now about a tariff the president has said he will now impose on semiconductors, which, as you know, could make a huge difference. What's going on there?
Okay, so semiconductor chips, right? These are the building blocks of the AI revolution. All of your big companies like Meta, like Microsoft, they are buying them in droves when it comes to NVIDIA, for example. So one thing that I want people to be aware of is if the price of your semiconductor chips are going to go up, that's going to impact companies' bottom line. Why do I say that? Those companies are driving a lot of your 401k, those big tech companies. Now, what I did find interesting is the president has been signaling this for quite some time. He says it's a national security reason to have these made in the U.S. because of how important it is to the AI industry. But I'm going to quote you what he said. He says, the good news for companies like Apple is if you're building in the U.S. or have committed to build, without question, committed to build in the United States, there will be no charge. So what that seems to say, at least from what he just said in the Oval, is if you have companies that have made investments or commitment to invest, you may be subject to no tariff.
Like Apple.
Exactly. Who was in the Oval with him.
Funny how that all works out. Kelly O'Grady, thank you very much.
Of course.